as we are right across our broadcast areas in Victoria and New South Wales. With no competition, we're still bringing you up to date. I mean, we've got to still continue on with the radio and making sure that when we do it, we keep you updated, even if it is with just the small pickings that are available to us. Scotty Stewart from the Warwick Herald is trying to find those small pickings, and he joins me now. G'day, Scotty. How are you?
I'm going well, thanks, Wayne.
Well, it is a bit small pickings, isn't it, when there's nothing being played and we're all discussing what the lockdown coming out and how we come out, crowds, are we going to get juniors off, will we get 1 week, 2 week, 3 week? It's so many scenarios. It's about all we've got to talk about.
That's about it, isn't it, at this stage? It's just all scenarios that have been set in place, which is good from the leagues. They've set their print in the way they want to handle this, lockdowns and et cetera. But as you say, we're only up to scenarios, aren't we? And obviously this weekend will be a no-go, and people will be saying next weekend would be very highly doubtful, and who knows after that. But anyway, they know that anything after October 2 is cut-off day. So whether or not they play a 1v2 on that day or they get a 2-week final series in, who knows? But it's really looking pretty doubtful. And you hear the stories about other leagues around the state. They've just cancelled them, and which is fair enough. I mean, one of them I heard was Ballarat Footy League, or they're dependent on teams out of Melbourne, so that's not going to happen for a while. So. Yeah, but hopefully, you never know. Time will tell.
It certainly will, and it leaves probably the best and fairest awards at the moment. So I thought we'll have a quick look at that. And Coleman mentioned earlier a little bit about his side, the Giants, and Lou White probably early in the season was having a dominant season and could poll quite a lot of votes before his injury, but we didn't play much football after his injury. So I'm just wondering whether he could be right up there amongst it on the medal count night next Monday.
That's an interesting point you make right there, isn't it? Because you look through the season that we did have, and I think it was rounds 1 to 6 were uninterrupted, and I think we had a couple of weeks off, and then we had another 5 weeks in a row, and not much after that. So anything after round 12, there's not much football that went on. So interesting, you just say someone like about Lou White, might poll early, and who knows what happens when all the lockdowns started happening.
You're going to look at over at the Boroughs. Kieran Delahunty is always a premier player in the competition. Kicks goals too. Must be high up amongst those on the umpires list.
Yeah, that's right, and he's one that does stand out because you're coming out of a team that's won 11 of 12 games played, and he's as you said, he's kicking goals most weeks. He's a tall ruckman forward, so he's always under the umpire's eye, and just scanning through some the club bests that they hand out, and that's not necessarily going to relate to umpires' votes. But Kieran was always high up amongst it, and it's interesting with someone like Kieran out of Wimmera, and you hear it all the time. Will he have votes taken off him from other players? And it's probably definitely going to be the case with Wimmera. You've got the reigning 2 medalist in Ben McIntyre in there, big Braden Ice, and he's stood up and done some good stuff. Luke Fisher, and the list goes on through the boroughs.
Yeah, it certainly does. Tim McIntyre, another one. They just continue to produce good players. Over at the Stall Warriors, I mean, their leading goal kicker, Cody Driscoll, has been good up front in the 9 games that he's been able to play. He's led them really well, but is there anybody that might come out of their midfield that you might see get some votes?
Yeah, look, to be honest with you could have the winner come out of Stall this year in coach Tommy Eckel. He had a really good season. I know we played him a couple of times, and very good both times. And again, if you're scanning through your club awards, he was always high in the top 6 throughout the season. So Tom, I think he'll poll very heavily, and again, like in a side that. We're pretty much top 2 for the majority of the season. I think they won 9 games out of the 12 or 13 that they ended up playing. He will he'll take a lot. But you said about Cody Driscoll, unfortunately, he got a knee injury throughout the year, so he'll poll some votes early. But I think Tommy Eccles will be right high up there.
Yeah, certainly will be. The Timbula Roos had a great start to the season. Dylan Tarkson's been very good for them.
Yeah, definitely. The Roos, again, they're going to have a good even spread across the board, I think. One fella out of the Roos, I reckon, should poll some good votes. Would be their ruckman in Jaden Lehman, who's a bit of a workhorse ruckman and gives his all every game. And again, getting through the club awards, he was high up there in that as well. But he's got, as you said, Dylan Tarkson and the Ladd brothers and the other recruit they had in Tommy Cree, and Matt Rose is another one from the Dingy Roos that was will probably grab some votes throughout the season. So yeah, they'll have a good representation, I'm sure, throughout the year.
They certainly will. The Saints, they've been interesting actually. The Saints haven't had anybody that's really glaringly stood out every week. But I mean, Nick Karras has been okay for them. The Jacob O'Byrne is a very, very good player. Angus Martin, another one. It's hard to see which one of those will stand up.
It's a good point. They're pretty even spread, aren't they? And that's basically how covers their season, really, just an even spread right across the board as to how they do it. But you mentioned those lads. There's another one there, another former winner in Sam Klein, who had a real good patch midway through the first part of the season before the first lockdown, and obviously a renowned vote getter because he's a previous winner. So he'll be up there. But there's young Mitch Martin, there's said Nick Karras, Jacob O'Byrne. Yeah, they'll all be prominent, and be interesting to see who gets the highest out of the Saints for sure.
Will be the Demons. Rona Conboy always is one to name. He's had some good games this year.
Interesting, the Horsham one there, and I said before that Tommy Eccles will be high up in the votes. I'm putting a couple of the Horsham lads up there too, because they had one of those seasons that they didn't make the finals, and but they won their share of games, so they're going to get some votes out of those matches. And one fella there who I think should be high up is Ben Lakin. He had a pretty good season. I think he had a couple of weeks off with injury, but I think the lockdown might have helped him a little bit there too. But he was really prominent throughout the season. And you mentioned Rona and another fella, Tyler Blake, and who's they're going to be I think he's taken on the coaching role up there in next year. So he was pretty high up in the club votes as well. So between those three guys there, you never know. You might have the two medalists right there, because as I said, they won enough games to make sure they're prominent. Yeah. Okay, over to Ararat. Who do you reckon they've got? Nick Oliver would be amongst it. Yeah, I think Nick was more late in the season. He really stood out towards the end. He was kicking bags of 5 goals there for a few weeks, but. I don't know with Ararat. Tommy Mills is one fella that I'd be throwing up with for Ararat. He, I know against the Warwick Eagles, he had a really good game, and yeah, he was always prominent throughout those throughout the club awards too. So, but yeah, look, there's some other fellas there. That Liam Arnott, he was pretty prominent throughout the season. But yeah, I'm thinking between those guys there, they'd probably be the leading guys at Ararat, I think. Tigers at nil. Hard to find one from there. Yeah, unfortunately, if it goes with just the way the votes do come out sometimes, and Neil being winless throughout the season, yeah, it makes it hard to come out of there. But I did notice there was some one prominent name that was coming out of the nil listings every week, and that was Liam Albrick. He must have had a very good season throughout the year, because he was always high up in his club vote. So I'm thinking that if he might not poll too many in the two medal, he'd be pretty well polling some votes in his own club, best and fairest. But he'll be right there leading them. I mean, there's Fraser Driscoll is another one who should poll some votes, but yeah, probably struggling to find any more prominent ones out of there. Okay, and well, I'm going to say it, but your lad, the Stewart boy, might be the best poller out of the Warwick Eagles. Yeah, that's right. Young Dane, he did again. You're looking through your club votes, and yeah, he was up there. Young Dane, he had a pretty good season. He pretty consistent throughout, and it'll be interesting to see how he polls actually with him and young Charlie Penny, another young fellow coming through the ranks there, with Riley Morrow and now Ruckman, Jacob Sobey. Not that I'm thinking he's going to poll a lot of votes throughout the league, but I give him more credit. Sobes throughout the year, he was unreal. He hardly ever lost a hit out throughout the season, so that helped the likes of Dane and Charlie and these on ballers. So yeah, it'll be interesting, Wayne. It'll be good to see what happens throughout the night with those young fellas. Yeah,
excellent stuff, Scotty Stewart. We're talking about what is going to be a massive medal count next Monday night, and we're covering off on Wimmera football. I look forward to talking to you again next week, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Good on you, Wayne. Thanks for that.